on my Facebook page as opposed to my business page. But that's all good. We do what we can.
That's how we roll.
That's how we're doing it today.
That's how we roll in virtual land.
Actually, you know what? I'll just flip over and do a watch on my page. Maybe that'll work.
So you're live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for, good morning. Thank you for putting up with us, trying to figure out technical difficulties, which seems to be the way of the world when we're talking about going live on Facebook. But that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Nothing is an emergency, apparently. We learned that from one of our mentors.
And yeah, nothing is an emergency. So I'm looking for your live. I don't see it just yet. Oh, there it is. Got it. And I'm going to do a watch party.
I'm doing one too. So hold tight, guys. We're going to be there in a second. We're talking carbs today. We thought we'd keep it simple. Yeah, like carbs are simple.
Is that you?
Yeah, and that was you. I just turned off my sound. So we are doing a live party. I am doing a live party, and it's always kind of a little bit of a delay there. So are you set up? Are we ready?
I'm all good. Absolutely. Good. I'm here. Morning. Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing better. I had a good sleep yesterday. I had worked hard in the garden all last night or all yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I actually kept my carb count down quite a bit, and that does make a big difference for my system. I really am very sensitive to carbs now. And I drank like 3 or 4 liters of water yesterday. So I was up peeing for quite a bit, but I'm going to switch this. So, but it was, and then at supper, what did I have? I had a healing broth that I made. So it was like a cold soup again, and some gluten-free crackers and red pepper hummus. I mean, it was a little bit of carbs, I suppose, with the crackers, but I didn't eat that much. You know, when it gets just so hot that you just don't feel like eating, that's where I was at, and I was okay.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. No, I made, my son was over yesterday helping with yard work and stuff, so we did a little bit late afternoon, and then we just had I had salad and chicken, so that was really, really good, and yeah, lots of water. And then I was still a little peckish at bedtime. I was just trying to get myself to calm down.
Yeah.
And so it was nice little cheese and apples.
Oh, that's a good snack. That is a good snack.
Yeah.
Cheese and apples. It's your low carb situation again, but still enough, like we were talking yesterday with snacks before bed. That little bit of protein, that little bit of sugar, but the good sugar. And
exactly.
Stuff in there.
All my good nut butters and peanut butters are at the cottage.
Oh, that's too bad. You're gonna have to try to split them up between the.
Well, that or I'll just go get more. Go get more. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to say good morning and welcome to the Dana and Wendy show, where today we're talking all things carb.
Yeah.
Because we love carbs. Who hasn't loved all the sourdough and fresh bread?
We love carbs.
I have stopped. Just so everyone knows, I have stopped making bread, and I've stopped making crackers, and I've stopped making sourdough because it was ridiculous and my belly was aching. And it's not just, that's okay. But I just can't, you just can't have a loaf of bread sitting around. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're supposed to eat it with soup and sandwiches and all things nice. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. I was making bread quite regularly there too. And I mean, a bread maker, I'm not very efficient with it. So it wasn't like nice, heavy grain breads or anything like that. It was,
So
today,
nice,
white, fluffy bread.
Yeah. So today we're talking carbs, but I mean, so when we think about carbs, we're always thinking that carbs are just breads and crackers and pastas and rice and all things nice. And that's when we think about those things, that's what we try and avoid. And there's a time and place and a time during the day to eat those things. But we honestly never think about all the carbs that are in your vegetables and that are in your fruits. And then we think, oh my gosh, there's too much. And no, you keep it natural, you keep it simple, you eat those, you're supposed to eat those,
Yeah, because
right?
they provide fuel for us. I mean, they are
Mm-hmm.
our workhorses. We don't want to get all of our fuel from fat. I mean, okay, I'm not talking to the keto people here. The keto people have a very
Oh,
much
there's a
different
there, but there's
perspective
a
when it comes to that. But
yeah, but there's a
um,
time and place for keto.
yeah,
There's yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
no, there is a time and place for keto.
Hmm.
It's just not, it's just not long periods of time, or if you do not have um, a severe illness or disease. I believe that's my choice. That's what I believe. And it's not that I don't try and pop myself to keto once in a while just to get my metabolism boosting, or fasting, or intermittent fasting. Um, that's that's what we do. But overall, general food, this is what we do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know from my perspective too, having had done the holistic cancer practitioner course, a ketogenic diet, from my perspective, is a therapeutic diet. It's a
Mm-hmm.
diet that, and we're getting way off on a course here, but it's a therapeutic diet from my perspective, and one that is used when we're trying to go through active treatment of cancer, perhaps even recouping from cancer for a little bit of time, as well as epileptic children go on a ketogenic diet as well,
Mm-hmm.
just for the simple fact that it works for them. But there's a lot of different theories, and I'm not here to dispel any different kind of, we're not here to dispel any different kind of diets, because whatever works for you works for you. And like I said, some people can do keto or paleo or whatever, other people can't. So we are basically talking generalization here. And when we talk that, we talk the big three, the macros. So fats, proteins, and carbs as a combination, um, within maybe a lower version of carbs for some respect, just because people tend to think, oh, I can have carbs. Well, we're going to go to the pastas and the corn and all these really high glycemic index considerations with carbs. So we wanted to just talk about what good carbs and bad carbs, if you want to label them, which is not always a good thing, but good carbs and bad carbs um, are basically, and how they work in the body basically, and then what we can do as an alternative just to keep on the lower end of carbs, because we do have that immense love affair with carbs, which is
We do, we
undeniable.
do.
Undeniable.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just sorry, continue to see. Anyways, so yeah, I just, it's always interesting to me when you're looking at things, and you're looking at, say, I always try and go, okay, so how nutritious is this? And then understanding where that comes from, like yes, having there's so many, and what do I want to say, there's so many parallels to carbs and why you're reacting to it, like that it just is, so it's hard to understand. And I think everything in moderation as well. You can have a pasta, you can have your homemade whatever, but it's like you're having a handful, not a plateful.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And again, it's that macros perception of things, where you're having that carbohydrate, protein, fat combination of things, right?
Mhm.
So, and it's interesting. I mean, carbohydrates are everywhere. They're in fruits, they're grains, they're vegetables, they're of course milk products. And it when you're thinking low carb, and low carb, I mean, of course, if you're looking to pop weight, yes, of course, low carb is what you think about. But it's the grains, the breads, perhaps the milk products if you're sensitive, and those types of things. But don't take the fruits and vegetables out of the way, because you need those. Oh my gosh, you certainly
Mhm.
need those. But so is something, so because I've always been brainwashed with carbs, and carb is one of my emotional triggers, right? So I always look to carbs to bring me home,
Yeah, to
to
soothe.
soothe, because my grandma would make homemade bread. My mom makes homemade bread. My mom still today, mom, if you're listening, she's still making homemade bread. And I'm looking like, you guys don't need all this homemade bread. Like, balance it out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, so if you're, and then I think if you're gluten free and you're not supposed to, like you're celiac or you have gluten sensitivities, and don't, please try and just break free from the bread. Try and break free from that carb emotional
Yeah.
comfort that you have, because the gluten-free breads are so over processed. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, because we know what goes in there, and it's like we can never make it. It tastes like cardboard, or they taste like cardboard. And I always, there are some really good breads out there if you need them, but
Yeah.
if you're gluten free, but that is such a, yeah, it's hard. Just get away from the process, period.
And it is a slow process to get away from stuff like that too, because I find that, I mean, I am a carb girl, like so many others.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saying last night, I had low carb, or sorry, gluten-free crackers. These
Crackers.
ones were by Breton, and I don't usually try to go gluten-free, but I do notice that when I am less gluten in my diet, that I feel a lot better.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I kind of work my way towards that. So that's why I picked up these gluten-free crackers. Gluten-free bread, on the other hand, that's a whole totally different icky story that I don't want to get into. But these crackers are actually pretty good. And I mean, I only had, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them. I had like big hunks of hummus to go with it, but and
Mm-hmm.
hummus
Mm-hmm.
being a carb itself too, because it comes from a bean. So I was kind of getting my fill on carbs last night, but these were more of whole grain and complex carbs, where they break down differently in the body on a very slower processed base, slower pace, and delivers that sugar, which it turns into glucose,
Yep.
at a slower pace throughout the body, as opposed to something like a white carb, or white flour product, or white rice, or those terrible whites that we always talk about. I mean, we're not here to demonize any specific food group or food itself. Even sugar itself has, I've kind of even brainwashed myself with the fact of sugar, because I think of it as like this bad thing, but we need sugar. There's no two ways around it. It fuels our brain, it fuels our energy, our muscles, our bodies to survive throughout the day. But it's that type of sugar that we really have to
Right.
watch and understand how it gets into our body and how it works to get the best um, um, energy for, the best bang for our buck, basically. And so we can't avoid it, like, again, unless you're going keto, but then
Mm-hmm.
you're really kind of starving yourself on a lot of different levels. And this is one of the things that I was reading in the medical medium, was the fact with the liver, that if we starve ourselves of sugar completely, our liver actually goes the opposite way and starts trying to protect ourselves, and it doesn't work very well. And then our pancreas gets hit again, so we are still having
Mm-hmm.
these
Mm-hmm.
spikes of insulin, and we are still having these things that we don't want to have, even though we're not taking the sugar in, which is kind of counterproductive as far as I'm concerned. But
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I don't know if any of your listeners, if you can see on your feed or not, whether people are like asking questions or not. But I know a lot of us do know a lot about um carbs nowadays, because it is kind of on the
On the
cusp.
radar. Yeah,
Everybody's talking about
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. But I mean, so it comes with a balance, and it comes with that understanding of, yes, we carbs are very good, and break free from that fear. Again, fear. We're all fear mongering right now, but that fear of carb. is you can't. You need that for a foundational building block of your body. And the different things like the benefits of carbohydrates are mental health, right? We need that ability to help. A low carb diet sometimes doesn't work. It creates anxiety, depression, and anger with people. Like, it's that whole imbalance of things. The it just, sorry, the understanding that from that production of serotonin in the brain. And then carbs also, the right kind of carbs, right, help either with weight loss, reducing those carbs, or eating the right carbs for your body actually help reduce the weight in your body. So there's also really great sources of nutrients like your leafy greens. Greens are carbs, right? And we need those. We need those for everything. Like, we go on just about leafy greens. Sweet potatoes. So sweet potatoes, and actually potatoes are jam-packed nutrient packages, like an egg, right? An egg is a powerhouse of nutrition.
Yes.
So but it's all of these things. And so even within the carbs, there's that low glycemic, high glycemic portion of things, right? So if you do run with blood sugars that are out of balance, that low glycemic index is where you have those berries, the blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, cranberries, and those are the really important jam-packed nutrients that you can really keep eating. And perhaps maybe not the melons or mangoes or bananas, but then there's that whole fallacy and misunderstanding about the poor banana.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's what another great jam-packed, nutrient-dense fruit that's natural in nature, right? Like, it's just amazing. And same as apples. There's a reason that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So it's like, it's that there are important reasons for the fruits and vegetables that we have, regardless of what we believe is carb.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Sometimes that nutrition overweighs that carb concept. So.
yeah, and you're not going to eat 16 apples or 16 bananas and worry about the sugar that's in it, because it's good sugar. And it's that whole theory of the whole fruit situation, the synergistic workings of all of the phytonutrients that are in, say, an apple itself. I mean, you have 10,000 different phytonutrients perhaps in an apple itself, and they work all synergistically together for the benefit of your body. So you're not just taking and thinking about the isolate of sugar, or the fruit sugar, which is fructose, which is a monosaccharide, as opposed to the polysaccharides is the one that we really are more concerned about, like the table sugar and the high fructose corn syrup and different things like that. So you're getting that wonderful benefit of everything else that's in the apple as well as the fructose. And and as so many people are like, oh, I would love to eat an apple because I haven't had an apple forever and I'm not supposed to eat apples. And I'm like, well, why can't you eat apples? Well, because they're so full of sugar, and oranges are the same. I'm like, oh my goodness, just eat the apple. It's going to be so much better for you in the long run. And I mean, again, we're not going to be eating 16, 18 apples a day. So the amount of sugar that you're getting in is not going to be that great. And you're going to counter it with perhaps a nice fat or protein that goes with it. So like a piece of cheese, which is, a very good combination of fat and protein, or a little bit of nut butter, again, fat and protein. So you're going to really, work and really be conscious about what you're going to be eating and how you're going to be pairing it with other foods to get that nice balance for
Mm-hmm.
the totality of your body's needs.
So when you're talking to your clients and you're working with their nutrition aspect, or even when you're doing live blood, do you see that carb imbalance within that, say, specimen on slide, or is that just something that you discuss with them and recognize the correction of where is needed in the health aspect.
Well, I mean, you're going to see things in the live blood itself. I mean, if there's a sugar imbalance, there's going to be perhaps a candida or a yeast situation going on, which can be very much readily seen in the live blood. Of course, and then you're going to see the manifestations of too many carbs in the body with, um, like myself, perhaps hormonal imbalance, not sleeping properly. Again, the verbalization of yeast or itchy skin or products like that within the body, a weight issue, but then it comes down to emotional things as well. So I can't give up carbs. I tend to always go, that's my go-to, and working towards that emotional end of things when a client comes in too. And that's why I always kind of, talk about my programs that have that emotional end of things, that emotional eating, mindfulness eating, intentional eating components to them, because this is a big thing. And when we talk about emotional eating, we're talking about sugar for like 99% of the time. I mean, there's the odd time that people will have emotional eating for celery, but I really doubt it. I haven't run into anybody yet, but I'm sure there's people out there that have that desire to eat salads over a chocolate bar any day. But yeah, it does come up more times than not, just because of the symptoms that they present. And it's not just something that I can see, but like in the live blood itself, yes, definitely I can see, uh, too much carbs in the body, too much fat will show as cholesterol in the blood, as well as the carbs with, potentially that sugar or candida situation. So yeah, it is something. And if people have a thought about whether they are taking in too many carbs, usually they are at that point, because people know their bodies. They're just needing that little bit of reassurance or validation that they know what's going on. And seeing it in the live blood is very validating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that, and that's your sugar, basically. So
yeah, it's the same as when we're looking at thermography in that aspect. So when we look at thermography, we're looking at what the body is stressing about, and perhaps it is reevaluating where the source of inflammation is coming from. So again, that goes back to gut, but is the food intake or the calorie intake or the carb intake you're becoming reactive to. And then that whole burden that happens with the body trying to respond, or the liver trying to respond to all of the chaos, then the rest of the body starts to become imbalanced. So we normally would suggest like an elimination or an anti-inflammatory, where and even with the hormone detoxes or the hormone program that I'll be starting up with again in June with eating your way to hormone health, that's what we're talking about, the clean carbs. Like for me, when doing that 5-day hormone detox, it was really hard for me to get over the fact that I had to eat sweet potato, and I had to eat lentils, and I had to eat beans, because that's a mindset limitation that I have about eating.
yeah, because we've been told that they're bad for us, because they just turn right into sugar. But these are the good sugars. These are the ones that we want.
Yeah, it's important to you have to increase your fiber. Like
For women, especially in heart disease.
you have to, for detoxification, for prevention of colon cancer, to help with heart disease, to help with the hormone detoxification. Like it's just so important, but that includes the carbs. Those are carbs, right? So I think because I'm so, oh my gosh, that's a limiting belief I got to get over, right? Yeah. That Atkins concept, right? Because it's just so easy to pop yourself into ketosis and lose weight fast. And then look, I mean, I did, even with the HCG diet I did with Dr. Price and Dr. O'Brien, when I worked at the Health Coach and Pure Wellness, wow, I lost 40 pounds in 40 days, because I really did it hard. Like I was like boom, right on. And I was down to about 140 pounds. And honestly, probably that's where I should be, about 150, but yeah. And then stress in life, and boom, here I am again, because that's how incredible life is, right? That's just where my body's supposed to be, I guess. But it's you
that
get so trained in understanding, and that's so false. It's such a, well, I think it's a false. I'm not, unless I'm ill or diseased, but
no, no, yeah, exactly. And I mean, we do have that misconception with like, well, okay, I don't want to, I'm not here to bash other people that have their very strict regimes going on. It's not a matter of bashing another way of eating or another way of looking at it, or saying that the keto people, I mean, are wrong, or the paleo people are wrong. I've read a lot of their books. I've read a lot of their, and followed them on Facebook and Instagram, and all these amazing people that are very passionate about what they do. This is just, for me, this is my personal opinion, having looked at all of them. And this is where I've come into finding that this works best for a lot of people that are, I don't know, I guess my clients are kind of like me, basically. There are clients that come to see me that are very much, oh, keto works and everything else. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. That works for you. Let me help you through it to make sure that you stay healthy, stay focused, are able to get to where you want to go with this type of diet. Somebody that's coming fresh to me, understanding what, their workings, getting a health history, everything else, I would basically start them off on a macronutrient balanced diet, unless they specifically say, yes, I would really like to try keto. Let's do this route. Or I really feel, drawn to paleo type diet, or whatever. And I would definitely help them through that. But from my perspective, for me and my body, which is not everybody else's body, macronutrients. As a vegetarian, I have a hard time going keto. I've tried it several times because, I mean, the theory is there, but at the same time, it doesn't work for me because I can't get in enough protein.
Right.
And I'm kind of scared still, that mentality from the 80s and 90s, I'm still scared about taking in too much fat. Not because I know it makes me fat, but I know it can clog the arteries. I can see that in live blood analysis, and I have seen that within my own live blood analysis too. So yeah, it's a tricky subject with regards to a lot of diet mentality, and then what do I eat really? And it comes down to that kind of stuff. So to make it simple for people,
so
I just
hard.
say, really just try to be very vigilant about, conscious about what you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
And then if you find that you are drawn to carbs, and this is where the journaling aspect of it comes in, understanding, well, why are you drawn to the carbs? What's going on in your body? Are you, I mean, you specifically, Dana, was it something, like, were you really stressed in your life, or, well, you just said that, that you ended up gaining the weight back? I mean, that's
Oh yeah, it was a total
yeah.
child trigger, total time. Yeah.
So,
That
I mean, it
was
had nothing to
certainly,
do with the food you taken in, basically. It was your emotions
yeah,
behind
it's emotions
that.
and stress and
Yeah.
and doing those things, right? So or not. It's really hard to say. Like,
Well, if you had journaled, you might have found that out.
oh, sure, throw that right back at me, Wendy.
No, but it
Thanks.
did. I mean, that's
No,
part
absolutely.
of
There
it.
was no point in that moment in time when that was when Jana left home, and just that whole mama bear stress and life and children and raising teenage children. Pray
Yeah.
for all those people raising teenage children. No, yeah, it's just, it is recognizing those things. So now looking back, I understand that. Now looking back, I say, that's why it's so important for me to say, every time, what do you journal? How are you responding? How do you feel?
Yep.
what's going on and what are you doing to resolve it. And that's why I always say, you know, what are you doing to help manage stress? Like, so and I'm always like, if you're not being called to do yoga, then you're not meant to do it because you'd already be doing it already.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so pick the thing you want, whether it's groove, body groove, or tap
Zumba.
dancing, or Zumba, or kickboxing. I always talk about kickboxing because I really think I'm meant to kickbox and I just haven't
I
done it
dream
yet.
about kickboxing last night. That's so weird.
Really?
Weird.
Very nice.
I got some hidden anger issues or something.
But no, it's so important. I mean, like, and then we have the gym beside active therapy, the garage where Michelle owns, and they do such incredible fun things there, like kettlebell, and then she has these other weapon things that she does, and I don't know, there it's pretty amazing. And then she does
Yeah.
have kickboxing there as well. So I mean, really step out of the comfort zone and move beyond the things that you're used to doing, so that breaks that mundaneness, or it breaks that memory of the body. And that's why I'm saying it, because I have to hear it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
We're only talking to
I have
ourselves
to,
here.
yeah, it's like, who's with us today? Nobody. We're just talking to ourselves. Exactly. But the thing I noticed when I wasn't incorporating enough, when I was doing keto, or when I was doing Atkins, or doing those high protein, high fat, and really removed all my carbs, my liver and my kidneys were aching. So, I mean, when it's okay to do them, but just be aware of what your body's trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Right. And because then just tweaking or adding some clean carbs, adding more vegetables, adding those things, or the proper fats. Maybe
Drinking
I wasn't
enough and the proper
and drinking enough water. Exactly. So it's recognizing the signs and symptoms of your body, so that you can discuss it with your practitioners. You can reach out to people like Wendy or myself and ask these just little quick questions, or if you feel you need help, then that's how we can really dig in with you and ask the serious questions and be insightful, and give you such great nuggets of wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then being able to hold people accountable, to feel better about themselves,
Yeah.
to manage hormones better, to detoxify better, and to increase their fight against disease, or give them a better potential to ward off things and build their immune systems.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to say too that, it's so very important, because I mean, at a point, I'm going back 10 years now, I guess 11 years. I was going to the gym regularly. I was down to about 150 pounds myself. I'm a pretty tall person, so 150 pounds is really a good weight for me, but I was, pretty defined and had nice muscular tone and everything else. And this was even before I started yoga. But then I got married, and the stress of that, and I think I've talked about that stress to the point where I actually ended up getting a massive rash down my skin, was so intense. And stress is one of those big things that really helps you to put weight on. It's not not even just eating. It's actual cortisol levels and everything else, but it'll put on weight. Right after I got married, I found a lump in my breast, and it took forever to tell me the results of that, which were on the good end of things. But that stress, again, that was, I was just like comfort food, comfort food, comfort food. But if I had learned how to, and then I ended up like this, but if I had learned how to really manage my stress properly, I wouldn't have gone towards food. I wouldn't have put that weight back on. Or there's other people that actually go to the opposite end of things and exercise too much. And this is another issue that is far and beyond, but equal to eating for comfort. They go towards alcohol or drugs or exercise, or it's to the extreme.
Yeah.
And it's unhealthy. And this is where a lot of this, and I talk about journaling again, is this realization of it after the fact. I see it now. I mean, hindsight is what 2020, but it is a matter of, well, if I would have journaled my thoughts, perhaps I wouldn't have tried to eat them. If I would
Right.
have, done all these different things that is so opposite of what I did, maybe I wouldn't be in the situation I am 10 years later,
Yeah.
complaining about my weight or whatever. But yeah, it is a matter of really bringing the realization to why we have that comfort. We need that comfort food. Okay, well, we're stressed right now. Well, how do we deal with that stress without going towards food? And going towards the carbs, and why
Hmm.
do we pick the white breads, and then once we have that realization, we can stop and make some better choices from there. And that's basically what that whole spiel was about.
No, and it was funny because when you're talking about that, I just like, oh yeah, carbs, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then my mind automatically kind of goes, because I'm just stuck in this mindset, and that's just the way I'm bred. So it's like, oh well, what alcohol is carb free, or what's low in carb, like what, those types of things. And now they've modified or created that whole product lineup of alcohol
Yeah.
that's low carb, which is okay in moderation, right? But
Yeah.
if you are not addressing the reason that you're drinking, right?
Mhm.
Um, then there's a big problem there, right? But I was going
Drinking
to
more
say,
than you would normally. We're not
correct, correct.
we're not demonizing drinking either.
No, because we all need one at the end of the day. No, I'm just, but I mean, it's, and then I was also thinking, like, looking at my genetics and looking at my family history, right?
Mhm.
There, and so if you're one of those people who have done everything under the sun, and you've talked to every single person, and you've done everything, and even with a nutritionist, still haven't nipped it in the butt, understand yourself from a DNA perspective, understand yourself from from biohacking, or from an epigenetic, or that genome idea, because you can be fighting a losing battle,
Yeah.
right? Because you could be, you just have that gene of obesity that you just need to then address sideways, and
Yeah.
and come from behind it to support that deficiency that you may have in your genetic makeup. So that whole yeah. So, and I honestly can't remember which gene it is, and I should have had that out here. Maybe we should talk about that another day. But the and then also, what was I reading? I was also reading, I can't even remember where, but knowing what what your mom had, or so if you're a young woman and you're in conception or preconception, those things you eat before you're conceived and into the third trimester set the stage for your fat cells for when you're a woman. So that also doesn't help with your metabolism at this age.
Mhm.
And then also those things like that. So I'll have to look for that again where I've read that. So the I think that's amazing, because that's going to hinder your carb consumption, fat consumption, and how those things work as well. So when you're coming in, you're looking at trying to biohack your body a bit differently, then that's where functional medicine or those epigenetic or genome people, DNA people kind of come into play. But that's always a super interesting
Mhm.
way to look at that. And I love it. I think it's great. So even just with the 23andMe, you want to do that, let me know. Or you want to do supplementation designed by that, let me know. Yeah. I
That's the future. Is that
that's the future of I think it is. So
supplementation for your DNA? That's just out there for me. I love
yeah,
that idea. I love
yeah.
that.
So
I mean,
it's
we are very individualized.
we are super individualized, absolutely. Like even from my brother or to myself, we're completely two different people. Even twins, unless they're like complete, you know, DNA replica, chromosome replica, whatever, then even that is a bit of a difference in how they metabolize or how they absorb or how their nutrients work within their bodies. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole other big awesomeness.
Definitely.
So
Yeah, I don't know a lot about that myself, but I think it's pretty fascinating. I think that's where the future of nutrition is going, because we are researching and we are coming down to the nitty-gritty with everything, but
mhm.
still not a lot of answers out there. And it actually it'll have to get turned around and look at us specifically and how we take in these proteins, max and fats, or proteins, fats and carbs. Yeah.
Yeah, proteins, fats,
And
and carbohydrates.
and you
Absolutely.
know, and then how we metabolize them and all that, and how it, you know, just works with our bodies. It comes down to our bodies. And yeah, that's really, really
No, that's exactly. And the other thing too is that where that carbohydrate comes from and how much it's been sprayed or modified, or uh the
process.
source,
Yeah.
the source and the process makes a huge difference as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
that brings you right back, right back full circle to gardening and
Whole
doing
food.
things homemade and whole foods and non-processed, and so even supporting local farmers,
Mhm.
right? Because all their products are coming out now, like all their hothouse products. And so those are really important to keep, using local sourced food, or grow your own food, or having a garden tower for your foods. And it's so incredible what a difference that makes. Or if you're not one to do a lot of supplementation, you're just looking for a foundation, then you're looking at trying to get as much bang for your buck for that, what you need for your core, because you're talking core basis of things, not
Mhm.
your super add-ons, right? um but the antioxidants, the omegas, the basis foundation of nutrition, and that's sort of where you have product lines like Juice Plus, where that's sort of covered, and then everything else is bonus.
Yeah.
And it can be the same for any company. So you always have your core, but be persistent, find the source, and understand the nutraceutical pharmaceutical component of where these supplements and nutritions are coming from, which takes us totally off topic, off of carbs, but it makes your carb metabolism, or the digestion and the absorption, work better when you have that foundation covered.
Mhm. So the takeaway from today, I would say, is basically just bring some consciousness to your choices. Don't stop eating bread, but pick a better bread and don't
Right.
eat so much of it. Don't stop eating fruits and vegetables because of the carb content. Pick the ones you want and eat consciously. Don't eat 16 cobs of corn because you think, oh, I can have, or a whole
What?
bunch of apples.
What? You only eat corn once a year. You might as well get it all in. No, I understand. Yeah, the corn
But
is, and
that
make sure you chew it. No, I'm just
there's something about the fact, I don't know. I'm not even going to get into that.
No, it's fine. Like even the corn, even if you're eating corn, that's a really good uh, stopwatch, or a timing
Yeah, it's a time.
mechanism.
Yeah, they
It's a
give you
timing
beats, right?
mechanism.
If
And
I want to
beets.
find out how much is going through a client, I'll tell them have a plate of beets and tell me when you see it.
And yeah, when you see it,
Yeah.
because that lets you know how well your whole colon is working.
Yep. Yeah. The
Right. So
yeah,
yes.
so that's basically my takeaway for today is, we're looking for complex carbs. We're looking for the fruits and vegetables with the fiber, the added components, the added phytonutrients that go with it, not just plain white sticky bread. Gone are the days of peanut butter jam, white sticky bread for lunch every day for kids.
What? What
It's
about grilled cheese
gone. It's
sandwiches?
gone.
What about grilled
Now
cheese
we have
sandwiches?
almond butter, we have homemade chia strawberry jam, and we
And we have sprouted bread. Yeah.
sprouted bread,
Yeah.
whole grain. So you really just to be a little bit more conscious of the things that you're taking in, and especially, again, I'm not trying to demonize sugar, but be conscious of the amount of sugar that you put into your body. The table sugar and the high fructose corn syrup, if nothing else. The high fructose corn syrup is a man-made synthetic product. It's genetically modified to that. And because it's not a real thing, that those chemicals and constituents in your body, they don't recognize it, so they fight it off, and you end up with autoimmune stuff and blah, all this stuff. Don't go towards aspartame or artificial sweeteners, whatever you do, because again, your body doesn't recognize it as a whole food, and it will fight it. It'll fight it in a lot of different ways, you know, and if you have enough of it, it'll work its way into autoimmune situations as well, and just some crazy brain stuff going on, and all kinds of nastiness. So I'm hoping that this message is old news to a lot of you,
Yeah.
because, you know, I don't say it a lot, but I think it's becoming, if people are interested in this kind of stuff, this is kind of old news. So this is a good thing.
So when we started today, we were like, okay, so we're going to talk about carbs. And so I Googled while we were trying to load Facebook, the what the myths are about, myth busters about carbs, right? So then, of course, the first one that comes up was the Heart and Stroke Foundation, right? So that was like, we were like, oh, what did they have to say, right? And so it was excellent. It's Nutrition Myths Busted, right? So so I mean, it's actually a really, really good article, although I have contention about one thing. But so a low carb diet is the best way to lose weight. Well, we all know that can't, this is not true. It's the right carbs at the right time, but it's making those dishes. But they have this beautiful recipe, which we'll add. And I'm like, oh, I need to go get some of those mushrooms from the Ugly Barn and some fresh spinach. So it's a spinach mushroom barley pilaf, which is fantastic because I can make it in my Instapot. So super loving this Instapot, by the way. But and then they have an incredible salad. You don't want to eat too much raw cruciferous vegetables for many reasons, but a Brussels sprout blueberry walnut slaw. Hello. Isn't that amazing? So we'll link this because I think it's great. But and then the second one was, the myth was, if food is fat-free, it must be healthy. Well, we know that's not true. We need healthy fats. Like that's for brain, for heart, for gut health, everything, right? So that's super
I will
amazing.
tell you though, because you're looking at the Heart and Stroke Foundation, I haven't got the book in front of me. Dr. Ornish is just give me a second.
Yeah, go. And then the other one was, only people with high blood pressure should limit their sodium. No, of course, overtaking sodium. So the other one was, only people with high blood pressure should limit their sodium, which we know needs to be limited. So really great article here, but it's the good salts. You need some iodine from salt, or you need to be taking iodine. And there's so many reasons for iodine. Like there's a bazillion reasons for iodine.
Thyroid health to be number one. I mean,
so, and then, but it's the excessiveness where we have the stroke, heart disease, kidney disease, things like that. So keep things natural, keep things to the minerals, keep things to a proportion. Like I need to find a salt-free Clamato, which is impossible because it's all MSG, right? I can have my Virgin Caesars.
But the Heart and Stroke Foundation, I mean, this is the
Dr. Ornish,
this is Dr. Ornish. He's not part of the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Heart and Stroke Foundation is the government-funded multi-mega, pharma, whatever places I wouldn't go to specifically. But Dr. Ornish, when he is has his own program, and he works with a lot of other holistic doctors, he is the one. His diets specifically go towards a low fat situation. When we're talking about heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, different things like that. Cholesterol, and he leans towards vegetarian diets as well. So if you ever want more information about that kind of situation, please reach out, or pick up a book or do something along that lines, because it is very, very interesting. And you had said that the Heart and Stroke Foundation were kind of thinking along that lines too, lower fat situation.
Yeah, lower fat, because they're really just talking about nuts and seeds,
Yeah.
and fish and those types of things as
A
part of heart
Mediterranean
disease.
diet, they call that basically.
Yeah,
Right?
that's Mediterranean, but that's like you're still talking olive oil. Like there's a lot of fat in a Mediterranean diet.
Yes, there is. Yeah, quite a bit actually.
Good
Yeah.
fats. So
Good fats.
good fats. So we've talked really full circle, and we've talked about a lot of things, and maybe another day we'll talk about fats and the crazy with fats. And
And we'll
that's
see where that
so
conversation goes.
we'll see where that goes.
Because I do. This is what we do. This is what we love. This is our shop talk. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I wanted us to do this, was because we could sit around and do this all day. Well, I don't know about you, but I can. I mean, I could go to the coffee shop with a bunch of nutritionists and sit down and just like, blah, just like, it's like all nutrition and all health and everything else.
Yep.
This is what I love. So I know,
Well, good.
it comes out a lot of good information that we have with these conversations. So this is very helpful for a lot of people. So I kind of wanted you guys to be a little bit of privy to that. So yeah.
Good morning, Dawn. I just want to say good morning. Dawn just came online.
Oh,
So yeah, so I would like to thank everyone for joining us today in our crazy, and please join us. No, if you have questions, schedule an appointment with either of us. We love just chatting away, helping people be insightful, help bring people to a new level of understanding with nutrition. For myself, eating your way to hormone health next month, launching a couple new things. So that's super exciting. And I have a big program with hormones coming up. So and that's hormones just because it's the makeup of everything. And I love talking about it. So watch for that. The thermography is probably going to be getting ready to launch, because chiropractors opened up officially today. Physiotherapists officially opened up today. So we'll see how that plays out. And then for clinical thermography, or if anyone wants to have breast imaging done or thermography imaging done, contact me. I will get you on a waiting list for Sudbury here, because I have my own office. And let's get you in. Let's identify where those stressors are. Let's identify how we can create a prevention plan. The Living with Intention Transformation Project that I have is a 6-month program where we start and finish nutrition, hormone health, thermography, period. And we really dig in and be really specific about what you need to do. So I love that program. That's Living with Intention Transformation. And it includes thermography, nutrition, coaching, and is all one-on-one. Fantastic. You can do that anywhere that we service in Ontario with thermography. So
wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. I'm super excited, and it's nice to see the world opening up again. It's nice to see the blue skies and the beautiful, beautiful leaves that have just come out. So yeah. Be blessed, everyone.
Yes. My computer is not allowing me
to leave and end.
Yeah.
We're gonna be here forever.
Something's happened to my screen and it's gone. So
forever,
I know
you're glitchy.
Recording. I don't know if you can turn it off.
I'll try. Okay. Goodbye, folks. If you're still here, if not, adios.
My green light's still on. I don't know what I did.